Hello, welcome to another video. And in this video right here, I'm gonna explain a little bit the process that I go through when I'm painting. In the other time lapses that I did, that I uploaded to this channel, but this I'm gonna explain a little bit what I do in a little bit more of depth. So first here, what I'm doing is just making a sketch. What I did first was just painting the background, like so it's not completely white. It's like a more traditional approach. And then I started sketching with a darker color. Like so far, I think you can see what's going on. And something that I struggle a lot with is this kind of sketches because they are always pretty ugly. Like at least in my opinion, I struggle a lot. It doesn't have to be perfect. They can be ugly. I allow them to be ugly because it's just for the matter of proportions that I do the sketches. Sometimes I don't even do them, but I feel more comfortable sketching in Photoshop than maybe Procreate. I feel more confident Procreate whenever I'm painting like freely, right? But anyways, I'm sketching the background. I'm sketching, trying to sketch everything, and you'll see in a moment. Uh, Whatever brush I'm using here is not that important, by the way, because you'll see in a moment the brush I'm gonna use to paint. So here I'm using just a random brush, like it kind of resembles a more traditional brush. And in here, you will see me using an airbrush for nearly the entire process. I'm using an airbrush here. So this is a normal airbrush. I believe this is the default airbrush that comes with Photoshop. I also zoomed in the canvas a little bit because I like to make it smaller so I can focus a little bit more on the shapes. So yeah, here you can see a little bit how I'm doing everything. And I'm just trying to paint with the airbrush. I'm just trying to paint the values. The most important thing you need to know if you want to be able to paint like this or just be a good painter is value. You have to feel super comfortable with value, and the only way to do that is not by doing this that you're watching me doing here. Because, look, if you're a beginner and you attempt to do this, you're probably not going to be very successful. And these are not words of disencouragement. I literally tried it. Like, I haven't, like, invented this technique or anything. Matter of fact, I got a lot of inspiration from an artist called Brooks Kim. You'll see his Instagram here somewhere. And he pretty much used to do the same thing, the same technique. Um, he would first do a sketch, then start painting over it with an airbrush, and then just start defining all the edges. And I remember I attempted to do that when I was not a beginner, but I was still figuring out digital painting. And it was so difficult, especially if you don't feel comfortable enough with the brushes you're using. I wouldn't recommend doing this exactly. If you want to learn how to paint or you want to get as good as possible, so it doesn't matter. Look, it really doesn't matter what style you're aiming for. If it's hyperrealism, if it's impressionism, if even if it's like stylized, you're always gonna need to have accurate values. That is like the single most important thing and fundamental of painting in general. So please practice that. I have a video on my channel talking about this very thing and how to actually get better and how to basically improve your knowledge for value instantly just by following like a very simple technique like a distillation. It's just simplifying everything. What I'm doing here is just simplifying the values. A lot of people told me that my style looks like it was taken with a trash camera, or that it was reminiscent of a dream or trying to remember like a memory or something. But to be honest, it's not only the style, it's also the reference that I choose. Like I said in the video how to paint like a pro, I said that references are very important. You should develop like a taste for good references. So the reason why I choose this type of references is because they're easier, like they look almost overexposed. This pretty much allows you to simplify entire areas. That is why sometimes I just paint the whole face white with a subtle gradient, and it's because I like simplification. I like impressionism, and it's also a pretty good way of learning because I am constantly studying. I'm constantly learning how to like improve, because you can always improve no matter what. There is always room for improvement, And this type of references just get me in the right mindset to simplify everything and focus on having the right balance of value, color, and so on. And the last thing I want to talk about is just proportions. Something you might run into if you're still learning how to paint is not being able to get the proportions right. Even here, you can see me struggling a little bit. I'm struggling with shape of the face, and I kind of have to fake it by just smudging it around and making it all look blurry. Having the proportions is very important, and it was personally a huge struggle of mine. So don't be afraid of using the Liquify tool if you really need to. No, don't be afraid of changing things around. The mindset that I always have with the proportions is using the relationships of the canvas like as a reference. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but just think, okay, uh, there is roughly this amount of space between the edge of the canvas and the head of this girl in the reference. So I'm gonna try to like replicate that and try to like make everything fit into place like almost like a puzzle. So I didn't do a good job here. I could have done a better job. Like for example, the legs. As you can see just by looking at the image, they're not in the right place. Like or there probably are, but the canvas should be probably longer. And of course, it's just a matter of practicing this a lot, and it will eventually work out for you. I forgot to record this, but I also did like a little alternative version where I tried to define the edges. I try to make it look a little bit more painterly and less blurry, but it didn't work as I was expecting. Probably because I was too impatient. But I think it turned out okay. I always like a little bit of blurriness in my stuff. So if you like me and want to learn more about art and like you're actually trying to get serious about this, I just made a Patreon subscription where you can get lessons from me, feedback, video calls, all of that good stuff. So if you're interested, first link in the description, you can find it there. And I'll see you in the next video.